Ladies and gents, I think it's time for us to read some comments. I think it's time for us to check out our beautiful, beautiful comments today. And I have pulled some of my favorite comments I think we've ever read on the show this week. In particular, we're going to start off with a comment from Michael1113, who did something that I encourage you all to follow up and also do. Michael didn't want to call into the show, but he was unable, so he figured he'd tell his story in the comments instead, which is something I would love to see you guys do. If you have something to speak on with this topic this week, something you got away with, let me know in the comment section below, and maybe I'll read it in the next caller episode. Tell me some stories. But Michael here says, perfect timing. And he commented this on our most recent caller episode before this one. Wish I could call about how my girl completely trashed my apartment today while I was at work because she's crashing out over not being on FaceTime with me all work day, which is ridiculous. We FaceTime almost every day, and all she does is argue and complain about what I'm doing at work and this and that when she's jobless living off me. Have you guys ever had a homie who's in one of these relationships? Because I 100% have. I've been at multiple smoke sessions where, you got that one guy in on the roto who's just on the phone with his girl the entire time talking. They're, barely saying anything. He's just on the phone with his girl. And you're all sitting there looking over, why? No one's going to say, why are you on FaceTime? But everyone's just kind of why are you on FaceTime the entire time we're talking? I can't even say anything real in this scenario. If I see a beautiful woman, walk past and I say, oh, she's hot, your girlfriend is probably going to hang up the call, get in her mom's car, and pull up and shoot us with her mom's gun. And I'm just not going to do that. But either way, Michael says, I'm going to just leave and get the apartment evicted so she can become homeless, since the reason we live together is her mom kicked her out and I took her into my parents' house for a month before we got our spot. Michael, you can do better, dude. His profile picture is actually him doing a money spread, if you look closely there. So, dude, you don't need her, Michael. You can do better. I know a lot of women here in Los Angeles that will fuck you for that much money in that picture, I encourage you to make your girl homeless. But he says, mind you, she hasn't had a job for the past 6 months we've been living there, and she's also 25 with no license and no way to get a job unless I take her. So yeah, pretty fucked. Love you, Goblin. More like Godlin, because you saved my day at work with what my girl just did to all my belongings. That's just got to be fire for you to put up with it, dude. I'm not going to lie. I mean, she's got to be doing tricks on it every fucking day. That's the only reason I can imagine you putting up with this, because you're sitting here and you're like, dude, this bum-ass bitch, she can't even get a job, this fucking hoe. She has no license, dude. You're just flaming her up. But yet, I guarantee he's probably still with her. They made up for sure, dude. He went home. They made up, dude. He might have even deleted this comment by now. Next up, from Don't Matter 8,444. He says, genuinely thank you for educating people on the fact that it's not only THC percentage that matters. I've been saying this for years, and half the time I say it, I get called an idiot. I mean, listen, man. I think people who go to the dispensary and they buy based on THC percentage, obviously they're only after one thing, which is potency. But if you're really only after potency, then THC percentage is far from what you should be focusing on. I would argue that the overall terpene percentage is much more important. I've smoked a lot of in my life, as you guys have probably seen, and from what my research has concluded, I typically am going to get higher off something that's testing 18 to 20%, but also, a flower, for example, is testing 18 to 20%, but putting out 2 to 3% terps versus smoking some industrial-ass 30, 35% flower that's putting out 1% terps, if even, I'm going to get way higher on that lower, higher terp, because it's the full spectrum is what gets you, and the spectrum of cannabis is what determines your type of high, So, what do you think makes the difference between a strain? What do you think the difference between is? It's not percentage of THC. It's the terp profile. That's really what you got to look for if you're trying to get high. When I was younger, I did the same thing. I totally get it. I didn't even know what a terp was, bro. I barely knew what it was when I was younger. I don't know what that is. I thought it was I thought they were the same thing. I thought it was like tomato, same goddamn thing. It took me years to figure out that's not true. But, same thing when I was younger. I used to try to buy off percentage, and it wasn't until I really learned what to look for in flower that I started truly getting blasted. People always talk about oh, my tolerance is so high. I can't, I don't even smoke anymore. And I think a lot of the time it's not even your tolerance doing that so much as it is you're just not smoking the right stuff for you. Everyone's body reacts differently to different terps and different strains and all that kind of shit. And, fuck percentage. Just do a little more research. Next up, we have Thumbster816, and he says, I just crashed out on a debt collector for interrupting me watching this shit. Thumbster, yo, I'm going to put you on right now with my absolute very, very favorite anti-debt collector strategy, okay? My favorite anti-debt collector strategy. Listen, I have time to waste a debt collector's time, and I will do it aggressively. I'll answer the phone, and I'll act like there's some sort of lag or like I can't hear them. I'll just be like, hello? Hello? And they'll stay on for a shocking amount of time. Most of them are not impatient. Like, they'll sit there and do the dance with you. If you just say hello over and over, they're going to hang up pretty quick. But, I mean, where's my phone? I get so many debt collector calls, I might get one while we're filming. Let me make sure my ringer's on just in case we do, because I'll show you a live example. But when, debt collectors call me, I'll typically just be like, hello, do you hear me? And then I'll maybe progress a little bit. I'll be like, what's going on? Make sure you never identify yourself. Don't say yes or no to your identity, because you want them to keep calling so you can waste all their employees' time. If you say no, you're not that person, they might stop calling you. You don't want to risk that. Don't confirm or deny an identity. Just, hello? Are you there? You hear me? Yeah, hello. Yeah, what's going on? Hello? Just do that dance. One time, I got someone to stay on for close to 5 minutes just doing that dance with me, and they crashed the fuck out. I heard a sigh, and they just hung up, and it's so satisfying. But that's not the only thing to do. If you want the calls to stop for the rest of the day and potentially even a few days, you have to start bombarding them back, because they want you to call them back. So start spam calling them, and then just do it to all the agents. I have literally sat at my desk for an hour just calling my debt collector back over and over, getting different agents, sometimes the same one, it's spread out until eventually they block my phone number. You can also just call, and as soon as they answer, just hang it up and just blow their system up, and they'll block you pretty quick. I am an expert debt collector avoider, okay? I will never pay my debt. Listen, I'm an honorary guy when it comes to paying people that I owe money to. But when it comes to business entities I owe money to, you can't lend me a fucking penny. You'll never see it again. In fact, I just today paid my traffic tickets, and the only reason I had to do it is because I need to go renew my registration. So checkmate. This is the first time I've had a car long enough for the registration to expire, because normally I crash them into something. But pro tip right there, if a debt collector calls you while you're watching the Gobcast, just pause the show and go waste their time. Go ahead and do it. They're a debt collector. They're not a human, okay? They don't have rights. Go blow their day, Next up on D's-Cum, or it says D's-Cum here. He says, Gobby should low-key go on financial audit. I've seen this comment numerous times. I think Caleb Hammer would probably flame me pretty hard. If you've been watching my Clips channel or my Twitch streams, specifically my GameStop power pack openings, you would know that I probably deserve some of that flame. But also, I vividly remember this happening to me before, but I am like kind of old school in the sense of like, I don't like talking about how much money I make. It's one of those things like I don't bring it up. I don't talk about it. I mean, dude, I'm wearing a fucking Gap hoodie right now. I drive a Toyota Corolla. I don't really like talking about how much money I make. I don't really flaunt money or anything like that. I'm old school. And I remember when I was younger, when I first started getting bigger on YouTube, I think people are naturally curious about the money that this kind of job brings. So it's a question that I've gotten a million times in my life, but it always irks me when people ask me in person. I've been on dates with girls before where literally like I'll tell them what I do and they're like, so how much money do you make? Like immediately off rip. And it's like, okay, if I told you I was a fucking corporate accountant, you wouldn't have just asked me that, Like, it's only because I make a YouTube video. And if I go on one of those shows, then I have to kind of publicly out that stuff, which I don't want to do. I'm not trying to say I'm rich. I'm also not broke. I do well for myself thanks to you guys. But Caleb Hammer would flame me up is my response to the financial audit suggestion. He would cook me, dude. Especially, if he saw the company finances here, oh, we're fucked, dude. Holy shit. He would love it. I paid Kyle in Counter-Strike skins last month. He would love to see our books. Next up, Senpai Skate. He says, are there any plans for episode 100? I know it's a bit away, but I think if you and Kyle smoke again live on the pod and take calls, it would be a fun episode. Yeah. Hey, easier said than done, Senpai Skate. I'm not entirely honest. I'm going to be completely real. If YouTube allowed it, I would genuinely probably do that. Like, just being completely straight up. Fuck it, dude. I would do it like one little hit. Like, fuck it. I already did it once. Second time is the charm in the world, though. That's what I say, at least. I was about to say that's what they say, but no, that's what I say. But when I think about episode 100, there's a couple tricks I have up my sleeve. I mean, I'm still pondering on it because we are 16 episodes away, which is about 4 months, give or take. So I'm definitely still pondering on it. I think I would like to do something with, someone more personal to me. Maybe have a guest on who I haven't had before, who is someone you've heard about my stories a lot, or do something that otherwise connects to my older content, and kind of what brought me here. I don't think I'm going to do something where I just get some like really famous guest on, although you never know. Maybe in the next 4 months, something really crazy lands in my lap. Like if I got the smoker himself, Hunter Biden, I'd absolutely make that an episode 100 special. You never know. In general, I'm going to try my best to make it special. That's what I will say. And also, even if I had something planned right now, I don't think I'd spoil it this far in advance. So just buckle up. We're rapidly approaching episode 100, and thanks for getting us here. Thanks for tuning in. Next up, we have Man Hathaway. He says, I had to take a second to read that name. He says, I was really hoping you would say you're going to post on YouTube through the community posts. I deleted all my socials years ago, and I'm hesitant to remake them after all my accounts were deleted. I've wanted to call in for so many prompts, but I always miss them. Listen, I'm going to say it right now. You got to want it out here, okay? You got to feed. You have to have that drive, have that desire to call into the show. We only posted on Instagram and Twitter. Those are the only two platforms I ever post when I'm taking calls. I get comments all the time from people that are like, I don't have Instagram. I don't have Twitter. What should I do, Goblin? You should fuck yourself. I'm going to be honest. You should completely fuck yourself because that's just, you're shit out of luck, man. I'm going to be honest. Instagram or Twitter, that's how the world turns. I appreciate you tuning in, though. But yeah, if you want to call in, I mean, dude, that's the only way to do it. And also, YouTube community posts, the issue is they don't really get to anybody. Like, you have to kind of seek them out. You don't go on your homepage and just see everyone's community posts. You might see one pop up from a creator you might follow every now and then, but they just don't get the reach that, like, when I post on Instagram, we get 1,000+ calls every day I post it just from Instagram alone. I mean, today we got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of calls just from my main Instagram account, so I don't think we need more calls necessarily. Like right now, honestly, we get more than I can even go through. Like I can't physically listen to as many calls as we get on these days, which is awesome. I appreciate that. But like, hey, more platforms brings more calls that I can't listen to. So next up, guestroomname.exe94. He says, I really want a remastered version of the Goblin mugshot hoodie, but with better fabric. I have a pink one and it goes hard, but it's getting a little ratty now. First and foremost, thanks for copping the merch. I appreciate that a lot. But also, I haven't dropped any new piece of merch in probably 2 to 3 years now. It's been a very, very long time since I've dropped any new merch. And I'd like to kind of announce here that that's going to be changing. I've been working on some merch, trying to kind of get back into it. We're going to have some all new stuff coming soon. Some beautiful stuff, higher quality stuff. For a while, it was kind of tough because COVID really fucked up the prices of clothing manufacturing. The cost of a blank t-shirt went from like $6 or $7 to like $12 to $13. And, okay. The only thing that's going off is my Ring camera. Debt collectors don't want me today. But that makes it hard to sell shirts for a reasonable price. And it kind of was demotivating to me because then I raised my prices and then I got complaints about doing that. So I was like, fuck it, dude. Let's just make only gas and sell weed instead, And now I'm like, okay, maybe we should start selling a little bit of merch. I get a lot of, me personally, like, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I'd buy YouTuber merch, but like, I get a lot of comments from people that are like, dude, like, when are you dropping new merch? Like, I bought this merch, I love it. So people really like it. And I mean, if people like something I do, I'm going to do it. So buckle up for a merch drop pretty soon here. It's coming. 2026, I'd say. Not before the end of the year, but 2026. Next up, in the comment section here. We have Counterculture Media. And Counterculture Media has a problem with the psych ward story that we got in our last caller episode, where that dude suddenly just brought up someone getting fucking decapitated. He says, I call BS on that psych ward story. They would have had that on the news. I can't find anything about news on psychiatric wards that had beheadings or decapitations as he described, and it wasn't coming up. Listen, before I even finish the rest of this comment, I'm just going to say something. I personally don't, like, the first part of his call is mainly what I wanted to focus on. And I think if you watch and you listen to how he reacted to that comment, you kind of can gather that pretty easily. But also, I don't think it's really my duty on the show to deem someone a liar or not. You know, that's for you guys to decide. And the only time I've ever done that is that guy we got a couple weeks ago who hung up mid-phone call when he was talking about, like, getting busted by undercover cops while taking a piss. You know, that was the dumbest phone call we probably ever gotten on the show. But stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I agree with you, bro. That doesn't sound very realistic to me at all either. But, like, I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to say whether someone's a good or bad person. I'm not here to say whether someone's telling the truth or not telling the truth. I really just do this to listen. You know, I make these caller episodes and I take these phone calls to give you guys a platform to share your story. You know, you guys have sat here and you've listened to a million of my stories over the years. So this is kind of my way of being like, hey, it's your turn, bro. Like, come tell everyone else a story. You know, it's like we're all sitting around the campfire together. And sometimes I think people might get a little excited when, you know, they get the chance to come talk on the show, and maybe they might embellish things or they might exaggerate, thinking that it makes the call better and it makes them more likely to end up on the show. What I will say is, if I do call you back, we pretty much don't cut any of these calls unless someone's blatantly bullshitting or, like, their audio quality's horrible or they hang up mid-call. Then we cut it. But most of the time, like, I don't cut calls and, you know, discriminate like that. Like, oh, it sounded like that guy was lying. Let's cut that. We don't do that very often here. I just leave it out there. So don't feel like you have to exaggerate your story to get a call. Just tell it naturally. Some of my favorite phone calls on this show are the ones that aren't super crazy, but are just natural. Like, for example, today, one of my favorite conversations I've had in a while was the fucking Build-A-Bear guy. Talking about how the racket, the quota he has to meet selling Build-A-Bear accessories. Like, that's amazing. I love hearing about little mundane shit like that. You don't always have to be like, yo, like, someone got fucking decapitated in my fucking psych ward. Like, I don't, you know. Either way, it's not my place to say whether that guy was lying, but I saw a lot of comments on last week's episode saying that. And in general, we get a lot of comments from people saying, oh, I think this person was lying. And hey, that's the way it goes. Maybe they were. I don't fucking know, dude. I wasn't there. But he continues this comment, and he says, maybe he's right and the news never saw it as they covered it up or something, but as far as I know, there's no records backing up his story. Considering a homicide in a psych ward is not commonplace, it would have easily made the news somewhere and it'd be on the internet. Playing devil's advocate, HIPAA laws maybe. I don't know, HIPAA laws. But either way, if anyone finds an article proving me wrong, I'd love to read it. Yeah, at the end of the day, bro, I just pass that stuff on to you guys. There was also a lot of comments about that call that were like, Goblin, I can't believe you left that on the show. And that's more why I wanted to address it. Because, like, hey, it's not my place. I try my very best to make sure that we screen the calls and pick ones that are good and generally true. But hey, that had nothing to do with the guy's voicemail. So it's not like I could have predicted that was coming either. But, ladies and gentlemen, episode 84. It's been an absolutely wonderful time hanging out with you all on this fine Wednesday, or whatever day you're watching this episode. We're filming on a Wednesday, actually, coincidentally. And we also drop these on Wednesday, so maybe it is a Wednesday for you. But I really enjoyed my time here in the studio today. This has been a wonderful episode. Make sure you drop a sub if you haven't already, because we are rapidly approaching 300K. And also, if you haven't yet, make sure you check us out on Spotify, because all our episodes are completely uncensored on Spotify, and they pay us pretty good ad revenue. So it's a great way to support the show and enjoy it completely uncensored. YouTube, unfortunately, kind of forces us to bleep out some stuff. So thank you all for tuning in. Drop a like, drop a sub if you haven't already. Go enjoy all the other content. Crackheads, my main channel, my clips channels, all the other stuff. I'll see y'all next week. Deuces.